high school, each Sunday night, I'd watch the practice with none of my friends. I'd turn the dial to ABC to see the creep of the week that Bobby Donald defends. But I'm out of practice.
With your hosts, Keith Barney.
Out of practice.
And Snowbird, Mike and Deglio.
Way back in high school, most every night, my mom watched QVC, so I missed the practice. There was no TiVo, what could I do? Wait 15 years, get fat, then stream it on Hulu. Out of practice.
Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Blowing up the internet with our sweet, sweet choreo.
Out of practice.
And welcome to the Out of Practice podcast, a weekly podcast in which I and Mike discuss David E. Kelley's award-winning series, The Practice. This week, we are up to Season 5, Episode 18, The Confession. And I have a confession today. I am so excited for this segment.
Weather, can you tell me the
weather?
An extraneous bumper these days.
cause
We all need to know. Was it hot or did it snow? I sure hope so.
Yeah, it's snowing here now, Keith.
Weather
It's begun.
from right freaking now. If you are watching this out of time, then you don't understand what we're so excited about. But we are so excited about the fact that it is, we're recording this on January 31st, 2021 on the East Coast, and we are about to get hit with some snow. I'm so excited. Jillian is so excited. Last year in the New York City area, we got 4.8 inches total of snow, which breaks my poor Vermonter's heart. But today, we're supposed to be getting somewhere between 10 and 20 inches in this storm, and we can't wait. I am here for it. I'm watching the snow start to fall onto my basement window cover, so I can see it happening right in front of me. I'm very excited. What's the snow going to be like in Philly?
Well, it's already begun, I should say. I don't want to dampen. I'll get to that in a moment. Let's start with the good news. So yes, the last snowstorm we had here was sort of like meh. I think I told the story on the pod how I was like forced into manual labor for all of my elderly neighbors.
Fun!
Shoveling them out. Yeah, it was fun until I was finished. Literally, no exaggeration, which I'm prone to, I admit.
What?
The second I finished shoveling out like 6 or 7 neighbors, a fleet of teenagers that was hired by the community that came and was shoveling everybody out. And I was like, oh. So I learned my lesson.
And they were so pissed.
I've changed
because you stole all their tips.
No, they don't get tipped. They're paid out by the community. So I literally just wasted my time. But
wow.
I guess I earned brownie points. So
you earned brownie points, and it's good for, us men of a certain age to get some exercise.
Yeah, that's well said. I almost had a heart attack. So, we did all the things that you do. We moved the cars to a non-reserved spot, both of our little cars here, so that when they come and plow out the spots tomorrow or the next day, we can just move the cars. We got some salt to put underneath the tires. We put the windshield wipers up. We did all the preparation. Here's the thing. Hopefully, maybe our depending on how old you are, or maybe it's, I feel like maybe it's ubiquitous, our listeners. There's something about the snowstorms. I think it goes back to growing up on the East Coast, and you might get out of school. There's something exciting about the impending getting snowed in. We have Girl Scout cookies. We've got French toast stuff. We've got mimosa gear. I mean, we are ready, and I hope that it could be anywhere here. It's anywhere between 5 and 8 inches today and 7 and 12 inches tomorrow. So, could be a lot, could be just a little bit, but I hope it's something.
No, we are so excited. And this will be our first big snowstorm in the new house.
Now,
the car is in the
Keith,
driveway.
I need to put it. I hate to put it out there in the universe, but
Okay, all right.
Are we confident that the basement, if you get 20 inches of snow and there's snow melt, are we confident that you will make it?
Well, funny you say that because I texted you guys earlier this week because we had our first house disaster, sort of, which was honestly, it was like, oh God, what's going to happen? We actually did flood our basement this week, although it was not rain or snow.
Okay.
It was because we had an old washer that the homeowners had given us the heads up that was a little wonky. And I think one of the shocks had gotten goofy. And so it would overspin or just get imbalanced and like knock stuff around. And so we just like put it on really low. Like we knew we were going to have to buy a new one. We just didn't want to do it like right away. Unfortunately, it spun itself out and broke the shutoff valve for the water. So we were running it and the water started to fill it and it filled it all the way up. And then it just kept going and never stopped. And I came down, it was Sunday, and came down the stairs to turn off the TV. And I'm like, why does the carpet look glossy? Well, it looked glossy because it was underwater. And so we had, 2 or 3 inches of water on part of the basement. So that was a nightmare. And so we spent Sunday night like shoveling out water. And this beautiful carpet I put down, which is all of those sort of carpet square dealies, about 25% of it got wet. So I had to pull out all of the carpet and we were drying. I had an old box of duplicate playbills. Some of them were pretty cool and like some of them were like personal and like, oh, it was so depressing to have to like try and dry them out. Anyway, long story short, we got it all sorted. We got everything dried out. I replaced the pieces of the carpet that died and we replaced the washer. So all is now as if it hadn't happened, but that was quite the like, oh shit. It was the first true oh shit moment of home ownership.
But speaking of home ownership, at least all of the work and the sort of effort that went into that remedying that situation was for your home. You know what I mean? It
That's
wasn't just
true.
Of a random apartment that you really shouldn't give a shit about.
Yeah, no, and it was okay. Like I was definitely like existentially upset by it for a second because like my perfect precious thing got fucked up and you couldn't really anticipate it. And and of course, like I had to like turn off the shut off valves of the water and they clearly hadn't turned that off in years. And so it wouldn't shut off for a while. And I had to get like a wrench and like, we had like 5 minutes of like sheer panic, but all is good. I'm hoping that we don't have any water dealing with the snow. But I'll tell you what, we did. I did get on the getting estimates on getting a roof replaced. So
It's like buying another house.
I know. Well, we knew that was going to be a part of the deal, and so we've set money aside for it. But yeah, so we had to like got some hardcore adulting done this week. So that was something.
Can I tell a random non sequitur story? We're out of the weather issue.
Is there anything that hasn't been a random non sequitur on this entire podcast?
I just had an experience yesterday, which was like so nerdy, awesome that I need to share with you because I think you will specifically understand it and our audience. Of course. So I think I'd mentioned I have a friend at Facebook who got me an Oculus Quest 2, the virtual reality headset. Have I mentioned that?
You've mentioned it vaguely. I didn't know that you got it through a friend at Facebook.
Yeah.
Where's mine?
You can borrow mine. Yeah, it was pretty cool because I thought I was just like it was a review, like an advanced review copy, but I get to keep it, so it's even more rad.
Oh, hell
now.
yeah.
So anyway, but that's non sequitur, or that's not important, I should say. So my brother-in-law and my sister and their 2 kids had jokingly said to us when we first moved here that they are prone to pop-ins. And especially during COVID, like that's obviously they're joking, right? Well, huh.
Oh,
They did.
no.
They did a pop in yesterday, which it's cool. We all put our masks on. It was fine. They've been inoculated, so I let them up, and I am doing right now through seizetheshow.com a virtual escape room where it takes place in space and whatever. So I was getting ready for a show and I was wearing this orange spacesuit. Okay, so that's
one does.
That's important to note. So they were like, hey, can we try the VR headset? And in my brain, I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna have to really disinfect this thing. But what am I gonna be a dick? So I was like, yeah, sure. So
I would have locked the door. I would have locked the door and gotten the hose if somebody drops in on me. So just calibrate at that.
I was trying to think of like experiences in VR that wouldn't make them puke as their sort of like first VR thing. So I pulled up Google Earth VR, which, Keith, I can't wait till we can hang out again because it will blow your goddamn mind. By now, the telemetry drones have basically 3D mapped the Earth. So it's not just like static Google flat 2D images. It's 3D modeled. So I went to my house where I grew up and I flew in because you can fly now. I can't even explain to you how real it is. You can zoom into the window where you grew up. There's your house. And then you can fly into space. But it's not just like an illusion of that. It is legitimately happening because you can set your camera to human scale. So I can't even explain it. You have to experience it.
Oh, that's so cool.
So,
I can't wait to try it.
So what I did was I put my little nephew, who is 4 years old, into the helmet, right? And I had it zoomed into my bedroom where I grew up. And I told a story to him, and I was controlling, because I had it beaming on the television too, so I had the remote. Yeah. And I was like, so this is where Uncle Mike used to sleep. And he used to dream about one day when he'd be able to fly. And then I slowly zoom outside the window. And I said, he wanted to go into space. And I flew us up into space. And his mind was blown. And so it was cool. It was a great experience. And I go to do my show. And as my sister's driving away, she sends me a text message. And she goes, Uncle Mike, JJ keeps saying that Uncle Mike had to go to work because he is an astronaut, and I hope that one day we can go to space with him. So my nephew now believes, because I was able to fly him into space, and I was wearing an orange jumpsuit, that through the magic of VR, I am now legitimately in his brain an astronaut.
Obviously.
I hope that lasts for a few years because he doesn't know I'm just a broke son of a bitch who is not an astronaut.
That's amazing.
Just
well,
awesome.
If it makes you feel any better, my nephew once was 100% convinced, and you're gonna like this. I'm glad you finished your spit take. Was that Uncle Keith is a gymnast. He can do flips and all sorts of stuff. Where did that come from? I have no idea.
We've played the fart song for everybody, right? Yeah, I'm sure we have.
I'm sure we have. In fact, I think we got the first one live on the air.
Right.
His initial song. Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So you know what? Technology isn't just watching old television shows. The future's happening too, which is cool.
No. Well, I mean, we're also producing a basically our own TV show live, broadcasting from multiple locations. So, I mean, technically, if we YouTube lived this, it could pretty much just be as is now. We could actually just throw it up live. We're not going to.
No, I was like, you know what? This is enough. I do feel like I'm launching SpaceX every week, so this is quite enough.
For sure. All right. Well, let's stop talking about our nonsense and let's talk about your nonsense with a segment we call
Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas. Filings and Subpoenas.
Now, I'm going to preface this with just warning everybody that we may have a breaking news filing and subpoena that is coming in. We have been promised something from founding sponsor Jorge Noboa, and he apparently is cramming on it right now, finishing up. So if it comes in while we're broadcasting, we will put it in. But if not, don't worry. We will definitely play Jorge's thing next week. I don't know what it is, but I'm super excited about it. Meanwhile, we, of course, have heard from our moderator, Phoenix, who has a lot to say on YouTube's. So here's what he had to say. First off, he said, "Hey, Keith, congrats on getting the job. Can't wait to hear all about it." Actually, this...
I don't know that we can call it a job.
Well, A, it wasn't a job because I wasn't being paid, and B, it's not a new job. Mike was talking about the Retro Tech show where I was the Star Trek expert. So it was an old job, but it's, I guess it's still new because it hasn't been broadcast yet. So I haven't seen it. He also continues to say, "Mike, I can name another Steven Seagal movie because at 8 years old, I got to see it being filmed on the street in LA. I watched a stuntman crash through the front door of a window as another guy ran up and pulled a woman out of the way. The movie was eventually called Hard to Kill. And after getting to see that, I met Steven Seagal. I guess the point of the story was that my dad had just a little more pull with him than yours."
Wow. Wow.
No, wait. The point was actually that the list of weird things we have in common keeps growing. Last week, it was orthostatic hypotension. And now this, it's really crazy. All right. So he continues talking about last episode, which is What Child Is This? Which was the episode that Mike guessed perfectly. It was the other daughter. He says, "I was certain of who the killer was." I got big.
Giant Keith.
Where am I?
Giant Keith. I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix it.
No, you're gonna fix it, and then it's gonna fix itself, and then I'm gonna be tiny. There I am.
Normal Keith.
Normal Keith. Anyway, Phoenix says, "I was certain of who the killer was very early on. For me, the casting gave it away. Jeanette Brox played a number of one-off nefarious sociopathic characters, so I saw it coming from a mile away. Mike, I have no idea how you predicted the entire ending, but maybe you saw her in the same shows and had a subconscious influence." That's a really good... I don't think I saw her in other things. I'll have to look it up and see. You know what? I'm not going to look it up. Phoenix, tell us what shows you were referring to, and then we'll track it down. He also says The Mistress didn't. So I was talking about The Mistress being in the courtroom and wondering why she was there, and why she agreed to be there as a prop for the defense. He says the mistress didn't have to be convinced or paid to be in court. She just had to be subpoenaed. If there's any reasonable purpose to have her testify, either side can require her to be in court and then decide on that day whether they want to call her to the stand. That's a good point. I didn't know that. Glad to know it. And of course, he says unreconcile is a word. And as Helen said, it's often used in accounting. But again, I am not the official fact checker. I'm just a telling Keith he's wrong enthusiast. Jillian, I'm available if you ever need someone to arbitrate a disagreement. I actually read that for Jillian, and she said she very well may take you up on that. So
that's what I thought.
So Phoenix is now moderator and marriage counselor, marriage referee. He's not counseling anything. He's just telling me I'm wrong.
So he's basically a marriage participant?
I wouldn't get that far, but he's there, causing excitement in my life. And meanwhile, everything on my screen just closed. All right, hold on. I got so confused. All right. Well, if you would like to join the legion of people who communicate with us in Filings and Subpoenas, you can do so by checking out our Facebook and Instagram at Out of Practice Podcast. You can email us directly, send all sorts of fun stuff, send videos, send audio clips, just regular old text at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com, or check out our blog, outofpracticepodcast.blogspot.com. And do us a giant favor. Join the jury, leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or any other service. Nobody has done it in about 5 years, and it'd be really helpful to get more folks to listen. All right, we're moving forward with everyone's loudest segment.
Wait. No. Oh, yeah.
Wait. Ready? Okay. Everyone's loudest segment. Oh, very well done. I tried to give you the setup, but no dice.
Yeah, it was just on a different screen. I'm getting used to the whole do it live.
We're doing it live. Yeah.
Look at that crop, Keith. I'm in a campfire out in the snowy wilderness. You've got all the depth. It's really coming together here for the 7 people who watch.
Like literally 7. Worth it.
The YouTube hasn't taken off, but it really does scratch that narcissism itch. I actually for the Easter egg reveal last week, I actually silently rolled, put on. So it showed the Scrabble board, and then I had the episode bleed in, and I was certain that someone would flag that, but no, it looks like we did all right.
Well, luckily, our narcissism is protected by the fact that nobody but us are paying attention. So
yeah, that's fair. So there's a couple of things I've been watching that I wanted to mention, Keith. I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add. So I guess I'll start because
yeah, definitely. I need to come up with something to say.
Okay, I'd like to start with something I saw on Hulu. So I've mentioned this to you, Keith. It's called In and of Itself, and I do not want to give much away here. So I'm gonna give you my setup, my exposure to it, and then leave it there. So this was a one-man show that was running off Broadway, and the only real advertisements you would see for it would be like some subway flyers or just really excellent word of mouth. People talking about this brick, that totally made no sense. And I just could not find a night. Jen was doing a Fiddler, and I could not find a night where there were tickets where we could both go. And so I didn't get a chance to see it. It ran close to 600 performances, and I just didn't get a chance to see it before it closed. I then saw him on the performer on Colbert, and Colbert was raving about it. And then I heard that it had gotten released on Hulu, a film version of the show. They filmed a collection of episodes, a collection of performances, and made a film out of it. So it ostensibly combines 3 of my favorite things, Keith. Illusionist stuff, magic, if you will.
Cool.
Though, monologues, i.e. the well-performed monologue, and existential crisis.
I'm surprised you didn't put that one first.
Yeah, and that's all I want to say. I'll say this. You may not... I personally am really into magic, sleight of hand, illusionist stuff, all that. That may not be your thing. I understand that. I should say that it is only used here as a device, as a tool, as a storytelling device. He says up front, it isn't about it, to me. There is a meta story that is a wrapper to the magic and to the stories he's telling that is really powerful to men of a certain age, to all people, I believe. Now, you can tell from watching it that the impact of what it's really about would be so powerful, much more powerful in person. And somehow through the filmmaking Frank Oz directed, I just think they were somehow able to capture 75% of the awe and wonder that one would get in person on film. And you come away asking some really interesting questions. And it's 90 minutes. It's in and out, and I can't recommend it higher. Everyone should watch this if you have even a passing interest in self.
Great. I plan to. In fact, Jillian and I, we sat down to watch it, and then I was like, this is far too existential for our level of energy right now. We're going to have to come back when we're not exhausted. Which poor Jillian's been working 70 hours a week at multiple jobs. So yeah, it's I just see her occasionally. And we just live in the same house.
I'm really dismayed by your slight off-syncness today, but
oh no,
it's going to be what it's going to be. So next,
we don't get paid.
Yeah. It's something I think I need to update Skype or something. There's an NDI issue. So next is Trial 4. It's been on Netflix for a little while, but this is for all of my true crime buffs out there. The pitch for this is this man here, Sean Ellis, was, well, it's pretty clear, although it never officially shown that he was incorrectly accused of a murder. The DA to this day says that he is guilty, but nonetheless, he ends up potentially going on trial for the same murder 4 times. And it's about justice and injustice. And as we've talked about on the practice many times, sometimes that DA is just fishing for a conviction for a variety of reasons. And in this particular case, it's because the Boston Police Department, shocker, was corrupt AF when this when this
racist cops in Boston
took place, and they needed a patsy to cover up some of their bullshit. And this guy, he was in prison for 25 years. So
Jesus,
worth a watch. It's 8 episodes. They're an hour each, so it's a bit of a time sink, but it really does earn its keep. So that's,
if you're listening to this podcast, clearly time sink is not a problem for you.
Fair. And so since those 2 were a little bit intense, I want to talk about the other thing that I've been watching. I think I've mentioned it on the pod before, but everyone knows I'm a big fan of Big Brother. And as I think it is almost perfect reality TV, but I forgot to mention I do know the show that is perfect reality TV, and that is RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh.
Now, 40-year-old straight white Mike might not be your first pick for marketing pitch for RuPaul's Drag Race, but I should say that I love RuPaul's Drag Race for a variety of reasons. 1, I'm really into subculture. I like people who are super nerdy about very specific niche things, clearly. Drag culture isn't one thing. Drag culture is very unique and specific to different locations regionally throughout the country. Right. And over 13 seasons of Drag Race, it's on VH1 currently, you have seen, in the beginning, it was just like introducing people to drag and some of the names in drag. But over 13 years, it's really cultivating. This is like the Super Bowl of drag competition, right? So now it's not just like random queens. It's the best of the best of like people who have been in the game for years and of the up-and-comers. And it's them mentoring each. So here are the ways it checks off perfect reality TV for me. It knows theatric camp. It is camp to the tilt. But at the same time, it's incredible performance. It's incredible fashion. It's incredible improvisation in the moment. These lip syncs for their lives are insanely incredible. Plus, they have over 13 seasons edited out. In the beginning, when reality TV was all about, like, let's just have them be bitchy towards one another and be all competitive. Meanness. They've realized that that's not what they want to be. And so now it's much more supportive and it's much more empowering. And so it scratches a really inspirational part of your psyche, those dopamine receptors, right? And if you are even remotely entertained by just like incredible performance, and it's so not what I've learned about drag is it's not even about the female impersonation part. It's a very specific type of performance it's an art form.
It's a specific art form unto itself. Yeah.
And that art form itself can be broken down to many different subsections. The fashion, the lip syncing, the actual performance, so many things. It's wonderful. And even if you have a passing interest in this or want to learn more about it, I highly recommend it. And RuPaul, at 60 years old, the puns, the comedy, the empire she has built, it is just mind-numbing what a legend this person is. So
she's also, have you met her in person? Like, she's so
I've
tall.
Never met Ru, no, but I feel like she's a part of my life, so it's okay.
But I'm not entirely sure what pronouns RuPaul uses when out of drag.
Yes, and which is I am referring to her in drag right now. So,
in drag. Well, you should put that graphic back up there because I've got some news about Drag Race this season. because not only do I know one of the contestants, I've kissed one of the contestants this year.
Oh, please dish.
So I
Give me the tea. Spill some tea, Keith.
About a year and a half ago, I did a production of a show called Take One, which is it's a show I've been doing a while. And we did it at the Fringe in New York, and then we just did one out actually in Montclair, New Jersey.
Yep.
And who played opposite me in that show? But a guy I know as Freddie.
Tina Burner?
It's Olivia Lux.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Who is a terrific musician and performer as well. So we actually performed together just a year and a half ago. Like
that is amazing.
Which is, and it's so funny because like I know Freddie as this like really shy, nice, sweet guy who like, you know, just we did some musical theater together. And then sort of between then and now, I've followed the Instagram and the development of the Olivia Lux character and watched it right from the very beginning. And I'm like, holy shit, she's beautiful. Look at that. And so anyway, so I was like, I actually haven't watched and I need to, but I'm definitely rooting for her.
Yeah, for me, it was, so I went, it was 8 weeks on a ship with this guy, Jacob, a friend of mine. And they were like, I had heard so much about Drag Race, and I really did want to watch. And they're like, well, just so, and on a ship, there's not much to watch. The closed circuit TV doesn't really give anything of entertainment value. So, long story short, I watched 12 seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race over a 8-week period, and one of my friends on the ship happened to know all of these guys and all the backstage gossip. So I was getting basically the pop-up video version. And so it added so much extra color.
Oh, so much fun.
Yeah, it's really, I really adore it. I really just look forward to it every Friday. So we could talk about WandaVision another time, but I just wanted to highlight these 3 pieces.
Yeah.
Keith, anything else you want to add to the list?
No, I think that's it. But I tell you what, between you and Freddie, it's all of the men I've kissed.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is.
Go. I wish I have a bit wider of a list, but that's a different podcast.
Fair enough. Okay, well, let us move forward. It is finally time. This is going to be a long episode. It is finally time to hop back into the time machine. And we are going all the way back 19 years ago, 20 years ago, almost, to April 1st, the year 2001. And that brings us to the eternal question. Mike, what was going on
this day in the basement?
Well, it turns out, actually, I think I'm going to use this week to tell a story. I think I'm a little bit early, but I'm going to tell the story quickly. So, Keith, you know this story, and I'm not going to expound on it because it is for a different project we've discussed. So,
I love this story.
So, my dad climbed out on the roof. This is, that's
a different story.
No. This is the story you think it is, but
okay, all right.
I think in the sort of narrative of them putting back together in my brain like Humpty Dumpty, my dad had broken his wrist, and it had kind of become clear that we couldn't just kind of do this anymore, and so he was in the hospital again, and it was it's April 1st, right? So we've got 6 weeks, so it's about right. He was frustrated with being back in the hospital and with some of the news and stuff, and he had decided that like coming up soon he was gonna go. He was given the choice to potentially kind of either stay on dialysis for the rest of his life, or he could decide to come off the dialysis and decide basically that would be a choice to end his life really. Hadn't made that decision yet, but regardless, he was dealing with it, and so he's under a lot of frustration. And they had all these tubes and shit into his throat, and it just was like a mess. And one night, he just got really frustrated and just like ripped all this crap out of his mouth and like really screwed up his like larynx and stuff. So he was just like basically couldn't talk right now. So a lot of people were getting word in our family that he.
I'm very much regretting having saying that I liked this story before.
Yeah. No. We'll get to the good part. So
there is a punchline.
Yeah, let me fast forward. So he's like dealing with like some vocal issues right now, and a lot of my family, that like we never hear, fair weather family, I should say, is deciding like now's the time we have to go and make peace with Joe while he's in the hospital. So a bunch of like family and friends are starting to come visit to like say goodbye, even though he hadn't really made any. It was sort of like uncomfortable in the beginning already because like these people, like he's not like he's here, right? It's weird.
Yeah.
But that aside, the point of the story is that like he also can't talk to them right now. So I'm there, and all these people are coming in and doing what people do, where it's like really about them, and they're like telling stories and getting things off their chest. And one relative, I can't even remember who it was, to be honest, was like trying to get him to like convert to Jesus or whatever. And so,
oh boy.
But the thing is that they were coming with the expectation that he was going to like say something or absolve them or whatever. And he, as a grown man, who I guess was dealing with mortality, really didn't really have much time of the day for it. But me, as a 16-year-old, or how old was I? 18, 19, what year was this? I'm 20 years old. I'm 20 years old. And I'm trying to like, it's uncomfortable for me. First of all, I don't know a lot of these people very well. And also like I'm dealing with a lot. So I decide that I have to somehow give these people what they want. So
massage this situation.
Yeah. So I start like pretending to like lean into him, and he's like or whatever, and I'm like translating, like I'm creating, entirely inventing what he is responding.
Complete and utter bullshit. You're just making it up.
Bullshit, shuffling, but not like in a side room, right in front of them. They clearly can tell that he is just mumbling nonsense, and I am translating it to like, you know what, he totally understands, and it's not a problem, like, and they are just okay, they are just taking it, right? Like I'm like, yeah, I think he does believe in Jesus, and he's gonna take that, and he really appreciates it, and thank you. And they're like, okay, great. So we do this for what feels like an entire day, and my dad at the end is just like crying. And I'm like, I feel really guilty because I'm like, oh shit, he's upset with me. I shouldn't have done that. Like, this was a bad call. And then he writes on a little notepad, he just says, funniest thing ever. And it became clear to me that he was laughing at the bullshit I was spilling. It was like pride. And so to this day, I'm like, I feel like I'll never get from him that he's proud, right? But I have that. He thinks I'm funny. So I'm like, that's good enough for me.
Clearly he raised a bullshitter at his level.
Yep. And I was like, to this day, I think about that, and I was like, since I was 20, I've been spinning these webs. So,
well, when you first told me the story, because we were, working on another podcast that we never actually did, but coming up with like segment or like episode ideas. And this was like, that moment when my father was the most proud of me. And it was when you were lying to his family on his deathbed.
Yeah.
Was when he was proudest of you.
My intentions were good. So.
I love it. I love it.
Talk to me, Keith.
All right. Yeah. Well, I brought some multimedia because I checked the dates, and the next episode is not till April 21st. So in between this was my recital, my junior recital, and this was the poster that I designed and put up all over the school. And if you remember, this was out when Fox was doing When Animals Attack, When Postmen Attack, When Something Attacks. So it was very topical. So, and that is me stomping on the skyline of Rochester, New York, and it's hard for me to describe. You're just going to have to trust me that this was not what most of the posters at the Eastman School of Music Classical Conservatory looked like. So if people were like, what the hell? Who is this guy? Anyway, so that was, I put these posters up everywhere for my junior recital. And if you'll note there, when I took that photo in the dorm and early photoshopped myself over the skyline, I was not wearing socks in my tuxedo.
Do we have any AV for this, Keith?
I will next week.
Okay.
Next episode, I'm splitting it up. I'm using my recital for it. So I will. I definitely have a recording of some of that, and I will, between this week and next, try to find some of it. I am not too painfully embarrassed to show you. So that's what was happening for me back then. So it is now time to talk about...
It's time for the Out of Practice Podcast's This Day in the World. The greatest hits, the biggest movies, headlines from Vermont, essential sports updates, and for some inexplicable reason, the weather from 20 years ago. Now back to Keith and Mike.
Uh-oh.
We are, of course, talking about April 1st, the year 2001. The number one song was Angel by Shaggy featuring Rayvon. Which, Shaggy was really having a time here. All right, so the top movie on April 1st, 2001 was Spy Kids. And the cover of the Burlington Free Press talked about Bush, as in W, who had just was 3 months into his presidency, favors defense over missiles. And so that's going to turn out. All right, that brings us to...
Wait, whoa.
It's time.
What?
It was April Fool's, obviously, and we didn't even be the better podcast to know what was the best April Fool's joke of 2001.
Oh, I don't know.
So I've Googled it, and hopefully this is what the answer is.
Okay, I can't wait.
NPR's All Things Considered on April 1st, 2001, revealed that a California-based company, Lunar Corp, had developed a laser powerful enough to project images onto the surface of the moon. It planned to use this to beam advertisements onto the moon, turning the Earth's satellite into a giant billboard. Many people fell for it.
Oh, I remember that. The rumor that Pizza Hut was going to put a big logo on the moon.
That's funny. Well, I'm glad that worked out in real time. Okay.
All right. Well done. Okay. Now it's time for...
It's time for Sportsball.
The Boston Bruins beat the lowly Islanders in Boston 4-2 in a spirited match that began with a fight 10 seconds into the game. Eric Cairns had a goal and the fight, but it wasn't enough to overcome Jason Allison's 34th and 35th goals of the season. Meanwhile, the Flyers beat the Red Wings 1-0 in Philly. Roman Czechmonic got the shutout. All right. Now we have, so we already did the weather. So now it is time for that bumper. You told me to let you know ahead of time.
It's going so smoothly already.
That it was coming. So here it comes. I think it might be time for...
I'm a human being, God damn it! My life has value, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
It's time to talk about the damn episode.
Oh wow, the video intro got much bigger than last time.
I figured I needed to do something. I can't believe it worked out. None of the other ones that we've been doing for 2 years have worked, but that one worked.
That was great. Okay. All right, this episode entitled The Confession, obviously a memorable one as it's Dylan McDermott's final episode. Prepare yourself.
Wait, what?
Was written by David E. Kelly and Lucas Reiter, who last wrote On the Awakenings, and directed by Andy Wolk, who last directed Payback. I kind of just spoiled what does Mike think's going to happen, but that brings us to... It's April Fool's, dude.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
Boom.
It got me hook, line, and sinker. I was like, how could I not be? My heart was literally broken. You bitch. Ugh.
It's April Fool's, man.
Touche.
We're going to do this. Come on. Yeah. All right.
I'm literally dreading it, so.
What is that supposed to mean? What's your problem? Is this what happens to women when you insert your penis?
What?
What does Mike think's gonna happen?
You know, what if he would have drank the curdled milk? Then what would have happened?
I feel like I inverted that image, because that is not the eyebrow I generally raise. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay.
Yeah, you did it.
I'm glad I don't have
You're
to,
a little grayer on the right than the left. Mm-hmm. That's you can see it in the yeah.
I'm a little grayer overall. That picture was taken a little while ago now. This podcast, like the presidency, has aged me. So after like the past few weeks of babies and crossovers and epic stuff happening, I feel like I was going to say we're going to go back to a Freak of the Week case and just like, a mundane, just like one-shot deal, no overarching thing.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously the confession has to correspond to something. George W. Bush clearly plays a role. I can't wait to see how that comes in. But I'm going to say the big confession is, gives the big confession?
I'm on the practice.
Let's see. Okay. Lindsay had a baby. Eleanor had a baby.
Yes.
Either Lucy or Lisa or Rebecca D. Cricket will announce on this that they also are pregnant.
What's in the water?
That's my big swing. That's the confession.
Oh, okay. A third pregnancy on season 5 of The Practice. Wow. And I think all of them were written in because the actors were actually pregnant. So, boy, things are getting crazy in LA.
Oh, that's accurate.
Okay. All right. Well, folks, it is time to hop over to your podcasting service of choice to listen to us listen to the episode. We will see you back here on YouTube for the Oopsies.
And we are back, baby.
Back. Okay, guys, hold on. We have an impromptu emergency.
Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas. Filings and subpoenas.
Okay, guys, we have gotten our long-awaited message from Jorge, founding sponsor, Jorge Novoa, and neither one of us have watched this. So with no setup, with no context, let's see what Jorge did.
A at least rough estimation of how many times we've Plan B'd on The Practice.
Why not Plan B them?
Should we Plan B him now? Plan B.
What's Plan B?
Where were you the night Mark Hansen was murdered? It might be worth a try.
Give them a soft Plan B. What's Plan B?
Soft for both.
You think I should have gone harder?
All right, but first we have to be sure it won't backfire.
Interesting strategy in there, Plan B, right?
Last time we did this, we got sued.
Maybe we could Plan B her.
What the hell is Plan B?
It's Plan B time.
Basically, it means we point the finger at other people.
My sister and I weren't too close lately. Why was that?
It's a risky
You're
strategy.
shitting me.
You didn't know she'd gone to a motel with Mr. Vogelman? How would I have known that? Well, you know if you'd followed her. And when you say soft. What?
Our soft Plan B is we do it more gently.
Anybody with you the night of your sister's murder, Steve?
Instead of accusing, it's more like what-ifing.
Did you murder your sister and frame George Vogelman? What action?
It's very dangerous.
Garbage. Well, then why do it?
We find the defendant, George Vogelman, not guilty.
Not guilty.
I am directing a verdict of not guilty. He's free to go.
I would say the over-under is like 10, and I'd
Yeah,
take
it's a
the
lot.
over.
So Keith says 10, and Mike says, insert answer now. Obviously, the trial
8.
against George Vogelman was 1, and number 2
Look, we
is...
can't get out of Evelyn's trial now. We've already started it. We can't not go after the father. That's our defense.
You didn't hit your son, Mr. Barlow?
I certainly did not.
I'm talking about Henry's wife.
I know Allison, and she would never...
You knew Henry, and you didn't know he was cheating on his wife with a cockroach.
We gotta run it by the client.
And he'd say no.
No, Jimmy, I'm not going to let you point the finger at her. How do I know you won't like Plan B me?
I don't intend to Plan B you, Anthony. I just want your computer expertise. You threatened to kill Stacy Kingman, didn't you?
3, here we go.
Which, believe it or not, brings us back to...
Wow.
Where were you the night
What?
your daughter was murdered?
What's
The
going
threat
on?
of Plan B has been more...
Of the murder, Mrs. Littlefield.
Excuse me? What?
So if you guessed 4, you'd still be wrong. Because the first Plan B...
Doctor, where were you the night Mark Hansen was murdered?
Home.
Counsel! There's your killer!
Objection!
Do you believe he committed the murder?
We don't know for a fact he didn't.
Do you think he did it?
Golly.
And to answer your...
And
other
yet you can
question
attack him in
about
open court,
what's the
accusing
big
him of
deal
being a
about
All
Plan
we
B,
murderer.
why
need
was
is
it
reasonable
so
doubt.
You basically offered a lie into evidence. That is not lawyering in the real world, Bobby. That is what lawyers like you claim, to rationalize what you are.
You know what I am?
You're disgusting.
And the only reason we don't really consider it Plan B was because it didn't end very well.
Knock her out. Doctor?
Oh, right.
Time to put this
Oh, shit. I forgot about that.
and be time.
I was not ready for that.
Copyright. Mike and Keith, 2021.
Holy shit. Oh, my God. Slow clap. And oh, my God.
We asked for a supercut, and Jorge delivered.
My Lord. I can't believe the work you put into that. That is by far the most professional thing that has ever been on this podcast. Like,
between that supercut, the calculations he does for us, Phoenix basically engaging an entire chat on YouTube and sending in audio here and there, which is fully produced as well. I mean, we as we said before, I'll say it again, what we lack in quantity, we definitely get back in quality. So thank you.
Oh.
So four.
My Lord.
So the impending threat of the Plan B is much more prevalent than the actual Plan Bing, it seems.
Jorge, holy moly. That was extraordinary. Yeah. That was so much work. Thank you so much for that. That was so fun. Jesus, wow. Wow.
Man.
Wow, indeed. That's all I have to say about that. That was 100% worth the wait. And with your permission, we definitely want to throw that up on the Instagram feed because that's amazing. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Jorge. Wow, I'm flabbergasted. Right. We're doing a show. Okay. Wow. All right. It is time for everyone's now second favorite segment today. And that is...
Mike has 30 seconds to remember what just happened on the show.
Well, we see Helen's Jaws of Life, somebody out of a car, but she witnesses it, and there's a kid, and the kid might end up been a great actor, but he's like, where's mommy? And then, she's like, yo, G-Dub wants to kill you, and he's like, I confess, but then Jimmy's like, yo, you lied, you B. He's not guilty, and the judge was like, yes, I agree. Kittleson was like, Jimmy. And then they went to federal court, and they're like, we re-arrest you. And then Jimmy was like, yo, she lied to me, B. And then they're like, yeah, you're right. And so he goes off free, and Helen's like, oh, damn, I fucked up.
That might have been your best work.
You think so?
I think Jorge raised the bar,
right?
And you're like, I better bring it on 30 seconds. Wow. Okay. Well, guys, it is now time to hand out some awards for The Practice Season 5, Episode 18, The Confession. And it looks like this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Out of Practice podcast, in unofficial, unsolicited, unfactual association with David E. Kelly Productions, proudly present...
Oopsie.
The Oopsies! Celebrating excellence in acting good, lawyering good, guesting good, and being Tom Brady. Not to mention, this is where we rate the episode and stuff. Now, here are your hosts, Keith and Mike.
What the hell are the Oopsies?
Well, Jackie, they're a fake awards show that begins every week with
Most Valuable.
Yeah, it sure does. Listen, I mean, Eugene gave a great close here, but Jimmy was the one who was able to sort of like channel his interpersonal rage, but also harness it and use it, as well as some legal justification and some great courtroom work by everyone this week. But I think it's the grunt, Jimmy Berluti.
Yeah, I think Jimmy did a tremendous job, and I think is well deserving of it. But I think just for the sake of sakes, I'm going to go splitsy with you and give my half to Eugene, and for one specific moment. And that was the moment when they were in chambers with the federal judge, and the federal judge shut down their initial reason for making the motion. And he was able to call an audible on the fly and switch from her lying to Jimmy to the coercion element, and just like literally on the fly completely change the grounds of their appeal in that situation, and be able to bring it home. So congratulations to Jimmy and Eugene for your splitsy of Most Valuable Lawyer. Okay, guys, it's time. Has everyone stretched?
Already famous because you've been on TV, getting a paycheck, or the first entry on your IMDb. Way to go, but you're the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor. You are the best guest actor on the episode.
Oh, I'll never tire of how stupid that is.
It'll never stop being stupid, I'll tell you that much.
So talk about, sometimes we really raise the roof when there are like huge names that come in. But there are episodes like this where there are just a multitude of guest actors, some really famous, some not as famous, just killing it. I mean, we had Emmy Award winner Judge Kittleson.
Oh, right.
We had a ton. Jocko was great. Oh my God, what's Kittleson's name? Why am I forgetting?
I'm not helping you. She won an Emmy.
Yeah, she did. Holland Taylor is excellent.
There it is. There it is.
The sister was amazing. What was her name?
Arabella Field.
Arabella Field. The Perp was great. He was put in a
Jeff
different
Cahill.
position. Yep. I'm missing some. The judge, the federal judge,
John
both
Elward,
judges were great. I mean, this really
Yeah.
was an excellent ensemble episode for sure.
Yeah.
So I have to, real quick, I saw Jocko in a play called The Pillow Man, which was about interrogation, basically. And he was so terrifying in that role that every time I see him on screen now, I'm petrified of him. And he didn't even have to stretch his muscles for this episode.
No.
And he's just so great as a character actor, as he just embodied, and he was only in that, man, but you know what? I have to talk myself out of it. Superseding two Emmy Award winning actors who are in this episode as guest actors. I thought the sister's performance being torn, and that hallway scene with the father and with Helen, I'm always a sucker for that. So I think I'm going to give it to
Arabella Field.
Arabella Field. I hope we can find how to tag her.
Interesting. I thought she was great. She just didn't have enough to do in my opinion. I mean,
quality
honestly,
over quantity for me, baby.
I think you're entirely right about like everybody was good. But I'm going to go with Jeff Cahill. I thought he was given a really difficult position because you're playing a dum-dum who did the thing, who feels bad about it, is trying to protect him. Like there's a lot of layers going on there, and he was able to really connect emotionally with what was happening. And I thought he did an excellent job. So congratulations, Jeff Cahill and Arabella Field. I'd give you your claps if I can find my soundboard. There we go. Okay, coming up next.
You killed your podiatrist or blew the case, but you let a single tear run down your face. You're the best actor on the show.
Helen. You know what I mean? Lara Flynn.
She did full on Helening, yeah.
But I gotta tell you, in the scene where Berluti, where Michael Badalucco is acting with Lara Flynn on the stand, and it's both a tete-a-tete legally, but also personally. I just couldn't get enough of it. I could have watched that all day. They are both so excellent that I hope we do a split ski, but if not, I think that it's a little bit more Jimmy, and I just thought the layers he put upon layers in that scene alone, set aside excellent work in the rest of the episode, are just so wonderful. Emmy Award winner as well.
Yep.
I just look. They took what he took as like a comedic character in the beginning and has developed Jimmy into, all flaws included. They haven't written him as a perfect character. There's so many dimensions, and so much of that is just because of what Michael Badalucca has brought to it, that this is another reminder of how great he is, and he gets my oopsie.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on everything you said about Michael. I do have to say, though, I think it's Lara Flynn's episode. Great. I think, she had a really tough lift here, because what Helen did was so objectively reckless and stupid. And the character of Helen is not written as stupid or foolish. It's not stupid, it's foolish. Because it was actually, she's very smart in the way that she did it. It was just reckless and foolish as a result, that the actress had to show us with the emotional connection to what happened, justify the recklessness of Helen's behavior in the situation. And I thought that they really did. I mean, and they reference it in the script, but most of the work has to be on Lara Flynn's shoulders to emotionally justify why this character would make that decision. And I think she really did. And I thought, without overdoing it, because Helen is not somebody who is going to be spitting tears and having this big breakdown over the situation. So she had to hold all of that back and yet still show us that this character was feeling that. And so as a result, I thought she gave a really, really good performance in this episode. So here we go. Splitsies, Michael Badalucca and Lara Flynn Boyle, which brings us to future Super Bowl participant and was portrayed on Saturday Night Live last night. Here it is.
The Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady.
And I love that he was called out for being a MAGA weird asshole on Saturday Night Live. I loved it.
That whole sketch, the whole way they portrayed him was actually really, really good. Last week's Tom Brady Award for being Tom Brady is right here.
Yeah, you did it yourself.
I did. That's him sitting in some old Tupperware. Tom Brady included. So, yes. This week, Keith, I passed back over the photoshopping to you for Tom Brady's uniform caught in the trunk of a car as it speeds away. Tom Brady.
Oh, shit. Okay. Tom Brady's uniform caught trapped in the trunk of a car. Tom Brady?
As it speeds away. As it speeds away.
Oh, I can need a different font.
I'll let you work with that.
Thanks so much. All right, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to announce how many spare tires this episode gets.
Not to belabor the point, but I thought it was an excellent episode. I've said it many times, we don't need a supercut, but we would accept one. I love the single case episodes, and especially now sometimes I'll even say that when they choose to make it more about the issue of the case rather than the case itself, sometimes they go a little too heavy-handed, but this week I don't believe so. We really took a close look at not just the legal ethics, but also at how the state constitution and federal constitution differed at this point in time with the issue at hand. We really, and not only that, but we executed the analysis with a fairly even hand on both sides, as well as already getting the guilt of the character out front so that it isn't ambiguous. And so it's really about focusing on the issue at hand, the legal ethics of the prosecution in this state, in this case, which isn't generally we're looking at the defense attorney. So I thought it was an interesting look at an interesting issue from an interesting perspective. And then you add on top of the elements, with that questionable B-roll aside, you add the elements of excellent acting from our main cast. I mean, just excellent acting, as well as a layer of incredible acting from every one of our guest actors, from top to bottom, of which there were many.
Yeah.
We got some inter-office stuff. Everybody appeared briefly, but it wasn't really about them. And I just thought it was, excellent. And I'm looking, sorry for my skins here. I want to bring you back into this, Keith.
Oh,
Here we go.
Thank you.
Oh boy, I knew I was going to do it.
I
was going to do it. You thought you escaped. I thought it was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. I'm still thinking about it, actually. But also, because I'm into the soap opera of it as well, I'm like, where are we going with Helen now? Like, how are her and Jimmy going to get along going forward?
Yeah.
So I want to give it 8.28 spare tires.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with everything you just said. I
always do, Keith. You always do.
I always do. Well, because I'm an agreeable guy. I'm not an agreeable guy. I really, really like this episode. And it falls into the category of the type of episode that I like. As you articulated, A, it's a single story episode. B, it is an issue episode. An issue episode about the legal system, and it's pointing out a flaw in the system, or at least an opportunity for injustice that has been exploited by, in this case, the prosecution and the prosecuting side. And I really like that type of episode. I also really like when you have a good issue episode in which both sides are articulated really well. And this wasn't dumbed down for the audience. This wasn't, the arguments weren't dumbed down or simplified or undercut by some sort of cheap emotional ploy. It really all made sense. And as we unraveled the onion, and this case really is unraveling an onion, because there were multiple grounds for appeal. You had multiple levels of court appeal systems. You had multiple jurisdictions going on. You had state, you had federal, you had so many different layers of the onion, and all of the A to B to C to D to E to F. It all made sense and was well articulated, and all the pieces back and forth. It was just so well constructed as an episode of television that made no compromises for the audience. In a lot of ways, especially lately, the practice has made a lot of compromises for sensationalism or excitement or whatever, going in for ratings or whatever. This is an episode that is at the highest level of its work, in that it's not dumbed down for anybody. It really is. We have something to say here. We have something to explore here. It's not going to be the exciting, sensational Bobby McRanbo episode. It's here for your mind. And it's here for you to think and absorb and really come from. And I really like that. This is why I like the practice. This type of episode is why I like the practice. I'm not here for Bobby hanging somebody out a window or a baby in a courtroom. I'm here for this. And what you said about all the performances, you're 100% right. Everyone is great. Just the only thing that tarnishes this, it doesn't tarnish. The only nitpicky things is that there were some weird mistakes, directorial mistakes. It's really more like DP mistakes. The flicker on the screen and the wine glass inconsistency in the background, just weird, stupid stuff that doesn't matter, especially in this type of net. It doesn't matter, but it is the type of mistakes that you don't usually see on this show. But I don't care. I'm not going to dock the episode for those little nitpicky things. Whatever, they screwed up the screen, the refresh rate. Who cares? I really like this episode. I was so excited to see it again. It makes me think. I like it. It gets a 9.16 spare tires.
Wow, that's
Really
going to
like
be
this
in the
episode.
running at the end of the year.
Yes, it is. I like this type of episode.
All right.
So, all right, now it's time to reveal the Easter egg. Don't forget.
Oh, yeah.
Not a particularly difficult one.
Nope, and I'll show you there.
Because,
G-Dubs. Yeah.
Our buddy Dubs, he gets name checked about 14 times in this episode because it's topical, baby.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
All right, folks, you have gotten through another episode of the Out of Practice podcast. If you would like to reach out to us, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Out of Practice Podcast. You can email us at outofpracticepodcast@gmail.com. And while I'm doing it, let me give a second thank you to Jorge for that amazing, well-edited, incredibly done video. If you would like to rate what Jorge did, because you probably like it better than what we did, you can join the jury by leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or a service of your choice. This episode is brought to you by generous donations from Leanne Wrights, Cloud Lover 69, of course, Jorge Navoa, and Jennifer Massanova.
Hey, you can actually join them by sending a one-time donation or a monthly contribution. Thank you for those who have just added their names to that list. Hopefully, one of you will do so. You can do so by clicking the links I will leave in the show notes. Additionally, in the show notes, Keith, we pimped your book last week.
Yeah.
Founding sponsor Leanne Wrights released her book this week. So we will put that in the show notes as well. You can buy Keith's book.
We'll talk about that next episode.
Yeah, you can buy her book. Let's buy everybody's book. Donate freely. And Keith, I want you to know, as well as all of our listeners, that George W. Bush is standing right outside the door. And if you don't donate to the podcast, he will shoot you with laser sounds.
I'll shoot you with laser sounds. Laser sounds.
Bye.